So I'm gonna make one of Julia Child's greatest recipes of all time, again.
Oh! Bon appetit.
So welcome to my home, everybody. It's really great to have you here today because we're still in soup season and I'm gonna be remaking one of Julia's most famous and classic dishes, French onion soup, soupe à l'oignon. So I made this soup for episode 3 of the show. It was nearly 3 years ago. And back then I was a potato in the kitchen, you know, couldn't really cook to save my life. I could to save my life, but I had determination to figure it out. And I've improved leaps and bounds since then. And I think it's a testament to this old recipe that I still regard it as one of my most favorite things that I've cooked on this show. And I was, like I said, I was a potato, or turnip, whatever you want, potato, turnip, some sort of root vegetable. I remember distinctly thinking while I was eating it, I can make something like this in my own kitchen with these flavors. It was an inflection point for sure. The onions for an onion soup need a long, slow cooking in butter and oil, then a long, slow simmering in stock for them to develop the deep, rich flavor which characterizes a perfect brew. You should therefore count on 2.5 hours at least from start to finish. Okay, so that being said, Julia is not accounting for homemade beef stock that you maybe should be making. I guess it depends on who you are. When I made this in the video, I used beef bouillon cubes for my stock. And according to the comment section of the video, major faux pas. People didn't like that too much. Even though Julia never frowned on stock from a can or a carton or what have you. But this time around, I want to see what powers this soup holds if I make my own stock from scratch. So we're going to add on another 4 to 5 hours to the clock. 6.5 to 7.5 hours till I'm eating soup. It'll be worth it though, I hope. Let's get to work. Starting off with our stock, and yes, I'm already crying from those onions. So I'm making a French onion soup. It's gonna be an emotional roller coaster. I'm using the recipe out of the Way to Cook cookbook for this one because I've never used this recipe before. I've only ever followed the one out of this book. So there's a couple little tweaks, little changes here and there. So let's give it a whirl. Okay, so I have these beef marrow bones here. These ones have already been sawed up. Look at that. So I'll use those as well as these. In a roasting pan, 1/2 cup of each. Roughly chopped onion, roughly chopped carrot, roughly chopped celery. Here we go, crank up the flavor, 450-degree oven, 35 to 40 minutes. So I'm gonna be basting it throughout too until it's a good walnut brown. Coming in hot. Nice. Just scoop in the brown bones and the vegetables, but not the fat. Look at all that fun. Let's get the heat on. So some water from my drinking glass. Bring the water up to a boil. Scrape up all this good stuff. Incoming. Into the pot. So I'm gonna need a cheesecloth. I need a large herb bouquet. So I need 8 parsley sprigs. Not driving tonight. 2 bay leaves. We'll make it 3. It's 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, but I got the fresh stuff, so I'm gonna use, those sprigs. However many that is. 4 allspice berries. 6 peppercorns. I'm gonna wrap it up, but not so tight that the herbs can't breathe. Judo chop. She says 1 large tomato. I got 2 that are between medium and keep the skin on, but core them. Roughly chopped to my liking. I can assure you it don't matter that much. Okay, fill it up with at least 6 quarts of water. My chopped tomatoes and 2 of each. Onions, celery, and carrots all roughly chopped. Just fits, as well as that herb bouquet. You're gonna bring this to simmer. Gonna scrape off any of the gray scum that rises. Gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Lid on loosely on a steady simmer for 4 to 5-ish hours. And I'm gonna be skimming the scum and the fat as I see fit. The liquid has evaporated a little too much. Add in some boiling water right back to the top. Simmering for 5 hours. And then I've let it cool. Look at the deep brown colors of that stock. Like a big bowl. Got the sieve too, which is exactly what I needed to strain this. And you're never gonna believe this. I need a second bowl. The second biggest one you got? Thank you. There's more stock. What I'm gonna do is clean out the stock pot and then I'm gonna put everything back in it. Yeah. All the stock into the fridge until the time has come. Let's clean up our mess. Here comes my big sack of onions. And these are yellow onions, 1.5 pounds or 5 cups worth of them sliced. And one thing I've learned in the past 3 years, I'll say that lightly. One thing I've improved on is my knife skills, because you could look back at the video of me making this soup and it's just a, I don't know, it's like a comedy act. Because I want to be able to be one of those people that goes, is learning. And I'm not going to say that I've figured it out completely, because, you know, an expert or a chef will look at me and be like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? But it's come a long way. And I'm gonna put that on display today, not in a show-offy way, but just in the only way I know how. All right, so let's just hone that knife and get slicing. End to end here through the root. I've always find it easier to peel when I go through them first. Off goes the head and the root. Throughout this entire slicing experience here, I gotta maintain the sharpest knife possible. Haven't even started yet, what is going on? Say the root was right here. If I just move it like that, the thumb and index finger on the blade like that, and I just go up and down, using this hand as the claw, and up and down, up and down. Julia says the knife is an extension of my hand. I believe her. It's true. Once you've made it that far, down you go. Okay, I don't want to hear from any of the onion hack people out there today. I've fully accepted that I'm gonna cry, and I'm okay with it today. It's a good cry. It's a happy cry. When my fingers are in that claw position, I'm using that thumb to like push the onion forward while I slice it. I don't want to nick my finger off. That's why I do this claw thing. It works. It really does work. You just got to practice. I'm not saying what I'm doing is perfect. It's far from it, I'm sure, but it certainly works. It didn't take long at all. It took minutes. Okay. Oh, what is going on out there? All right, saucepan, 4-quart saucepan to be precise, 3 tablespoons of butter, and I finally figured out why Julia always has me add like a tablespoon of oil to go along with that. Because we're gonna be cooking this for a long time, the butter might burn, so you have the oil in there to keep everything copacetic. Copacetic? That just came out of my mouth. I don't even know what that means. I've heard it somewhere. Copacetic. Yes, get the onions in there too. Lid goes on. All right, medium heat? She doesn't say, medium heat. And I'm gonna cook that for 15 minutes to start. Booey! That's for me. That's for me. Okay, so, after 15 minutes, okay, this is already smelling. I'm gonna turn up the heat slightly to moderate. And I'm gonna leave it uncovered. Gonna add in a teaspoon of salt, but I want those onions to be a deep, dark brown. That's the end goal. And in order to achieve that, she says, a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar should help. I'm just gonna add a little more sugar than I should. Pinch more of sugar. Stirring super frequently, leaving it uncovered, just like so, for 40 minutes. So with a French baguette, I'm just gonna slice a little under an inch slice. Oh, that's way, yeah. How about that? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get these on a roasting pan. Okay, so I got my oven set to, don't forget to keep stirring, but I got my oven set to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm gonna bake these. I'm gonna bake these for 15 minutes to start. These onions are turning into something really beautiful, but part of the deal is stirring. So if you're not gonna do it, then it's gonna end up like there. That is a perfect example of what happens. So keep it stirring, do not stop, and you will be rewarded. I think it's time to sort out what's going on with this stock. Since this was chilling in the fridge, look how easy it is just to skim the fat off. Look at that beautiful sight. Love to see it. You really love to see it. There's a number of things going on at the same time. Let me try to discuss with you the order in which I'm doing things. The stock I'll figure that out in a second. But there's something else I want to do. Julia poaches an egg as one of the different variations that you can present French onion soup. There's a couple different ways. One with the croûtes, which are in the oven right now, one with a poached egg. I can't recall exactly what she does with the egg at the end, but I know how to poach an egg, so I'm gonna do that right in a second. So in with the egg, I'm just gonna add a little hoot of vinegar in a pot of just barely simmering water. I'll just give it a little bit of a vortex, but I don't really care about that step. As close as I can get this egg, in it goes. I'm gonna keep that in there 4 minutes. Okay, and gently remove. Let's get the croûtes out of the oven. Touch of olive oil on each side of these croûtes. And if you missed, if it went on the pan, yeah, just get it all covered and back into the oven for another 15. A clove of garlic here that I'm going to slice, rub the sliced part of the garlic onto the croûte, each one. Oh yeah, oops. So, okay, it's time for the beef stock. Look how beautiful that looks. I need 4 cups worth, or 2 quarts, or 2 liters, however you want to. Keep stirring those onions. Start thinking about boiling this. Not just yet, but thinking about it. So these onions are now, silly guy making a silly show. And this is what these onions look like after 40 minutes. Pretty good, right? Well, I think we can push it. Let's push it to the limit. What would another 20 minutes look like? Yeah, I would say that's a deep dark brown. I mean, come on. It's a challenge, right? How dark can you get your caramelized onions? Well, that's as far as I want to push it today. I have no such challenge. Okay, so I got a big bag of, it's flour, and I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons. On the heat, stir that for 3 minutes. Off the heat, I'm gonna add in my 8 cups or 2 quarts of boiling stock. Your time to shine. As well as half a cup of a dry white vermouth. Or white wine. If you have white wine, I had vermouth in the fridge, so a little salt would be great. As well as a couple hoots of pepper. And now I think I can finally relax. So I'm gonna be, get the heat back on you, numbskull. Partially covered, and I'm gonna simmer that for 30 to 40 minutes. As So there is a little skin that forms occasionally on the very top of this soup, and you just skim it off and it's gone. If I could just pass along a little bit of, I don't know if it's wisdom or if it's just advice to whoever wants to make this soup. When you're adding in the flour, don't be so careless. Just sprinkle it in, add a little at a time, mix it in, sprinkle it in, because throughout this 40 minutes on the heat, I have noticed a couple little flour clumps here and there that I had to scoop out. They're all gone now, fingers crossed, but you know, just be a little more careful, cautious, don't be a cowboy. Found one, found one. Oh, I found one. Oh, I got you. Some more pepper. I'd say a good bunch of salt. It needs it. Trust me, it needs it. Okay. Oh, okay. Turn off the heat and just, I'm gonna serve these soups a different way than I did in the other video where I took this whole sauce pot and I put the croûtes on top of it and the cheese, and then I put it back into the oven and gratinate it and yada, yada, yada. It was terrific. Now, is that the Titanic? But I'm not going to do that this time because I already did that, and it's kind of like you're committing yourself to serving out of this saucepan, which I don't want to do. I want to just serve out of these suckers right here. Let's ladle in some soup. Oh, looks magnificent. And now next up we're going to take a few croûtes. 1, 2, 3. Parmesan cheese grated on top. Could you have found a better grater than that? So how much Parmesan cheese? Lots of it. And Swiss cheese. So you be the boss, you decide. I decide this much. This is one way of doing it. Put to the side. Next up, I forgot the cognac. She says to add 3 tablespoons worth of cognac just before serving. I'm just gonna add in, well, we'll go. That first bowl of soup will not have the cognac, so just keep that in mind. The second bowl of soup most certainly will. In this other bowl of soup, I'm gonna add in a croûte on the bottom. And then this poached egg has been waiting for its moment to shine. It goes on to the croûte. She demos this way of serving the soup on her show, but it's not mentioned in this cookbook here, so just take my word for it. Now the reason I wanted to serve it this way is because I was just curious. Serve the soup on top, and we'll go more cheese. She says this is a very French way of serving French onion soup. And speaking of French, some Swiss cheese as well. Swiss cheese kind of ensures that we get a little bit of stringiness, you know, cheese pull, and then the parm on top as well. Everything is lovely. And just a little bit of olive oil on the very top to ensure everything browns nicely. Okay, I'm gonna put that under the broiler until I say so, until the cheese browns. This looks really just straight up incredible. So instead of parsley, which is what I usually decorate these things with, I'm going with thyme today. Yeah, I saw a couple hot takes on the internet and you know, I had it on hand anyway, so I'm like, oh, why the hell not? Put the parsley aside for a minute. Besides that, I don't know what else we're supposed to do here besides order up! The croûtes on top first. Oops. Whoa. And then there was beauty everywhere you look. I'm thinking this is the best bowl of soup I've ever had in my life. The bowl with the egg in it, I don't know if it's gonna beat that because this was the best of the best of the. This one not only has the egg, but the cognac too. This is just a different eating experience. Lots to think about. I guess there is a bit of a contest, right? Which bowl of soup did I like more? No contest. Bowl number 1 was the greatest bowl of soup I've ever had. I already said that, but it's true. Just rich, savory. That beef stock, making it yourself is the way to go sometimes if you have the time, because it took all day. If you don't have all day, go the other route. It just tasted different than anything I've ever had before, really. Anything I've ever made before. When I've made it with the beef bouillon, if I had the carton, if I had a can of stock, that would all work great. Or this right here, better than bouillon. This would be a great substitute, but making it yourself, that was a whole other level here today. And it was a happy accident because bowl number 1 didn't have the cognac in it, and because I forgot, and thankfully I did. The onions were just sweet and caramelized, cheese on top, and that crunch because of the croûtes. A second bowl of soup, I like the egg in there. Yolk was runny and it just kind of spread throughout the soup. Yeah, the cognac adds a little, what does it add? The internet says it adds a rich, deep flavor to the dish. You know what else adds a rich, deep flavor to the dish? Not having the cognac too. So yeah, it's whatever you want. Usually I like the cognac, but yeah, my mind's already made up. So yeah, that's the end of that. I just really think that this might be one of the best recipes I've ever followed along to right here. Julia Child's French onion soup. If you haven't made it, I would give it a try. You know what, I'm gonna wrap it up. This was Jamie and Julia. Bon appetit. Au revoir.